Lando Norris is one of the most liked drivers on the grid. His open and easygoing personality has gained him and McLaren a huge amount of fans, many of them young and new to the sport. It isn't just the fans that love him though, it is the teams as well. Despite not having won a race during his 4 seasons racing in Formula 1, Lando Norris is thought of as one of the best up-and-coming drivers on the grid, and every team is after that talent. He's also one of the most marketable, which means almost as much to F1 CEOs. But could Ferrari really be his next team? Let's check it out. GQ recently released an article and interview on Lando Norris titled "Lando Norris is coming in hot," and that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about him. The article isn't just an interview with Lando or an opinion piece on him, it reads like a love letter for the young British driver. Personally, my favourite extract from the piece was, "The first thing that strikes you is just how handsome Norris is. Raised near Bristol to a British father and Belgian mother, he's tanned, with reassuring hazel eyes, a foam of dark brown hair brushed up from his forehead, and brows as striking as his jawline." That's just one of many choice lines from the interview, but you get the idea. Lando Norris is loved by those in the sport and out, and that makes him very attractive to an F1 team. Not quite in the same way as he is to GQ though. Lando Norris is one of the most marketable drivers in Formula 1, second only to Lewis Hamilton if we had to guess. A big part of that marketability has been Drive to Survive. He ended 2021 by being named the most popular driver among female and Gen Z fans, following a 187-country, 150,000-person F1 fan review. "I love it, especially if it's a fan-voted thing," he says. "It's just awesome to read, as a normal guy, that there's so many people that support me. But it wouldn't change the way I approach things or change who I am, or be a big ego booster. I try not to think about it too much. These things matter to Formula 1 teams because they can use this stuff to sell themselves to sponsors. If you remember the season of Drive to Survive that covered the 2020 season, and Gunther Steiner talking to a potential German sponsor, and them saying they want someone who's marketable behind the wheel of a car with their name on. Well, why do you think Mick Schumacher got a seat? Because Haas needed the money and the sponsor wanted the Schumacher name. Same goes for Nikita Mazepin and the Uralkali sponsorship that disappeared with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. McLaren will be finding sponsorship far easier and far more lucrative thanks to Lando Norris. But that isn't the only reason he'd been linked to so many of the top teams in the sport this year. He's also a really, really good driver. He's a stable head, he has maturity beyond his years, and he consistently outperforms his car. Just look at the golfing quality between Norris and Ricciardo in 2022. Sure, Daniel had a dire season, but the 2022 McLaren was a nightmare to drive as well. Not only did Lando make the most of what he had, he did it in a calm, uncomplaining manner and got on with the job. He helped the team improve by being constructive. That's much more than can be said for a certain vastly more experienced Mercedes driver who also struggled with a bad car. What I'm saying is these qualities are not common among F1 drivers, and that makes him stand out for prospective new employers. This brings us round to Ferrari, the most recent addition to the now all-encompassing list of Formula 1 teams that want Lando Norris driving for them. We had the Red Bull connections multiple times this season, either as Perez's replacement or Verstappen's if the Dutchman chooses to turn his hand to another championship in the future. We've had Mercedes in the past as well. Every time there is a rumour of Hamilton retiring, that link gets made. With Hamilton's contract up at the end of 2023 and no new contract announced, the considerations of his replacement have begun, and Peter Windsor seems to think Merck might choose to go for Leclerc. The Monegasque looked exhausted with Ferrari last year and is definitely open to being tempted elsewhere. Windsor has claimed that if Mercedes boss Toto Wolff moves to partner Leclerc with George Russell, Ferrari will turn their attention towards Norris. He said, "Let's say Lewis stops at the end of 24, let's say 23 and see how we go. I would imagine Toto is going to try and go for Charles Leclerc. It would be a mess probably, putting Leclerc with Russell, but if he's prepared to put Russell with Hamilton, he's obviously going to be prepared to put him with Charles Leclerc. Let's assume Leclerc went from Ferrari to Mercedes to replace Lewis, which is not a completely stupid assumption. What then would Ferrari do? I think they go massively all out to get Lando, and I think Lando at that point would find it quite hard to say no, putting aside all the contractual stuff, because I do think that at that level, they can afford to buy a driver out of their contract. I think Lando has got half a chance at Ferrari if Leclerc goes somewhere to replace Lewis, which would be good, wouldn't it? Would Lando at Ferrari be good? He definitely has the maturity to do it. He could put up with the politicking and all the other crap that comes with being a Ferrari. Would it be a good move for him though? I don't think so. Ferrari are no closer to winning a championship than they have been at any other point in the past 15 years. Historical success means absolutely nothing in modern sport. Lewis Hamilton won a championship at McLaren more recently than Ferrari have won a championship. Ferrari may have the name and the prestige, but they showed in 2022 that they don't have what it takes to win a championship. McLaren, though, have a brand new wind tunnel on the way to bring their facilities to a level higher than anything else currently in F1. If Lando's looking for a move to win championships, then Ferrari is not the place to go. He's better off sitting tight at a team that's won more recently and is moving in the right direction, not one that stagnated a decade ago. Even if it isn't a career move, Lando has been looking to Ferrari for something else. If Ferrari can bounce back from a winless season to be the second best team under the new ground effect aerodynamic regulations, Lando says there is no reason McLaren cannot set the same goal. According to the Briton, if Ferrari can capitalize on the new regulations to once again become race winners, there's no reason McLaren shouldn't set themselves the same target. That's achievable, he declared. I think what they did was extremely good, going from where they were in 2021, from almost getting beat by us, to going to where they are, getting wins, fighting for podiums every single weekend. That's what we need to be aiming for. That level of a jump from one season to another. They've obviously had, not the luck, but they've maximized a new era, a new rule set for Formula 1 with new cars, which has allowed them to make a bigger jump than ever. But there's still plenty of opportunities for us to achieve something like that, and that's where we need to be setting our goals for. Looking at Ferrari in 2022, they did a great job building their initial car. It was the fastest on the grid in the opening rounds. They just made a mess of developing it as the season went on, losing time to Red Bull at every round. McLaren actually had a relatively similar season, with Lando's one podium of the season coming in round 4 of the championship, before failing to break into the top 5 again until Singapore. The 23-year-old says McLaren simply need to do better, saying, "The fact is, we have to do a better job, and the team have to do a better job with making a better car. I think we need to make good progress. I have good faith that we can. We have a huge amount of what we need in the right areas and the right people and so on. It's just that final hurdle, the final thing to get us up to the same level, to then have no excuse against Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari. The team knows that they need to do a better job." Last season, Norris trounced his teammate Daniel Ricciardo, 122 points to 37. But that rightly so is not enough for the Briton. All a driver can do is race to the best of their ability and trust the team in the factory to build a car to the best of their ability. Norris, it's fair to say, has been doing just that. He seized his opportunities with 6 podiums in total and has hardly made a mistake in recent times. He's giving his all. It's only fair that he wants McLaren to do the same. Last year, the Woking team's early efforts were hampered by their pre-season brake problems that meant they had to spend time and resources resolving that, and then it was a game of catch-up. This year, they have no excuses. Norris wants podiums, and McLaren need to deliver, or he may listen more closely to any offer Ferrari have. Want to know more about what's happening in F1? Then click the video on your screen and I'll see you there.